Good morning, it's Tuesday. Welcome to Summer's Way of Life. So this morning I've been preparing for a very, very busy week coming ahead in the garden, which arguably for me, as I garden using biodynamic principles and working with the lunar rhythms, the moon's rhythm cycles, next week arguably is the most busiest week for me for sowing seeds. And that's why, the reason why is because it's ahead of the full moon, which lends itself really well to help strong seed germination. If you want to know the reasons why, do some homework on biodynamic agriculture and biodynamic garden, and you can find all the answers. There's plenty of it on YouTube. So what I'm going to be doing, I've shared this before here, the Mariaton biodynamic calendar, and this particular week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and today are not very good days to do any sensitive work in the garden, so I'm not doing that. But from Friday, even tomorrow I may refrain, but from Friday it's all systems go. It's a root day, and therefore I'll be sowing a lot of root seeds like onions and maybe leeks, although leeks don't fall under root, they fall under leaf for some reason, but potatoes and other things, mainly a lot of onions. And then next week it's just all systems go, so you're going to be overwhelmed with gardening stuff. But what I wanted to show you very quickly today in this video is this. And this is the bread that I made a few days ago. If you recall, I shared the recipe for it, and it's wonderful milk bread. And I took one loaf to my parents, and with this other one, I sliced it into pieces and I put it in a bag in the freezer. And this is a very good habit. If you've got a freezer, use it, because you can cook homemade food, stick it in the freezer. It retains its nutritional integrity as long as you eat it within a reasonable time frame. Don't leave it in there for 2 years or 3 years, albeit I suppose you can. But you've got to know what's in your freezer as well. Get organised. So yeah, that's worked out quite well. It could have risen a little bit more, but I don't criticise myself too much. I've made it, it's at home, and I know what to do to help it rise next time because I do it regularly. So I'm not perfect, I never will be, but until you actually try, you're never going to be it's not designed for you to be perfect at it. Designed for you to cook, keep learning and gain understanding and experience, and then you get better and better and better at it. But it's lovely, lovely bread. And the other thing I want to share is, while I'm fasting these 5 days, I'm on day 3 of 5 at the moment, I'm just going to share what I'm eating. Maybe you'll get some inspiration from that. But I also want to explain afterwards why I do not believe that what I'm eating is that significant to the fact that I'm sailing through these fasts and I'm not feeling at all hungry. That's the important thing. That's the important point. So first of all, let me share what I've been eating. Well, what I do is I wake up at 3:45 in the morning. Sunrise is about, well, not sunrise, but yes, when the light of dawn comes upon us or rises above us. I'm trying to remember how it was written in the Quran. I think it's the white line of dawn or the black line of night. It's just so beautifully written. When it comes upon, that's when I stop eating. So I do look at the sunrise times. I do look at the time for morning prayer, and it's around 4:45, 4:40 in the morning here. So I have a bowl of whole oats. Now, that works for me. I'll explain in a minute. I'm not talking about the pulverized oats that you can buy these days. I'm talking about traditional whole oats. If I could get steel cut oats here, I would, but they're not easy to find. And where you do find them, they're very expensive. The minimum processed oats I'm talking about. So these are whole rolled oats. I get mine from Sainsbury's. They do a really good one. And then I soak it overnight in water. I add some nuts and seeds, sunflower seeds and other seeds, sesame seeds, and I put a date in it as well, like a date. You know what I mean by a date, the Middle Eastern kind of fruit that they have. I put that in it, a nice dry date, and then in the morning I add raw milk or unhomogenized milk, and I gently cook it up, and I have a bowl of that. Sometimes I'll add a banana in it. I put some cream, some single cream in it, and I enjoy that. If it's not sweet enough for me, I use jaggery or gur, which is an unrefined sugar, full molasses sugar that has a lot of nutritional benefits, and I only put a small amount of it in to sweeten it. So again, minimum and processed food. And then I'll have 2 boiled eggs. Now today I had a piece of salmon which I had poached yesterday, just in some water, lemon juice in a frying pan, and some herbs, a little bit of salt. Put the lid on and put some water in there and let it cook slowly, and it just steamed its way through, so it was nice and soft. And 2 scrambled eggs, and then a bowl of muesli. I have a muesli and I add a few other bits and pieces, nuts and seeds to it, and I had that, and that's enough, and water, and a cup of tea, of course. So sometimes I'll have a slice of this homemade bread if I'm still hungry, and in the evening I'll have some fruit, and then I'll eat whatever curry's been made, whether it's at my mother's house or over here. I made a chicken korma yesterday, and I cooked these chapatis, which I do most days, on the hot plate. So this is my bread, and I will share that with you sometime, because it's a really good skill to have, to cook chapatis at home on a hot plate. No yeast involved, none of that. It's just roll it out on there. It's a skill, practice, and it's a great bread to eat with your food. Right, that is sustaining me. I'm not feeling at all hungry, but I know the reason. There's 2 other reasons why I'm not feeling hungry, and I want you to take this on board. Number 1 is the fact that my general way of life is such that I only eat between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day. So that's 8 hours out of the full 24 hours. I only eat for 8 hours. So my body is used to not eating for quite a number of hours, even though I'm asleep for 7 of them, let's say. That's the first reason. The second reason is, over a period of time, and since I've healed from Crohn's disease, those of you who don't know the story of that, I started talking about that in an older video, which is why you should, if you can, and I would recommend it, because that's how I've created this channel. That's the methodology of this channel, is that you listen to every video from the beginning, because it all fits together. It's a way of life I'm sharing with you. So you need to put everything into context. So where was I? So the other reason I find it very easy to fast is because I generally only eat homemade food. I don't eat crap. So I don't eat commercial cakes and biscuits and sweets. I do eat cakes, but they're homemade with very little sugar in them. And I'm very conscious when I eat. When I eat very slowly now. And I chew my food, and so that the saliva and the digestive enzymes in the saliva are working, and I try my best to be very conscious and aware when I'm eating, so that when I swallow my food, it's as liquid as possible. You know, these are life-changing pieces of knowledge that are all the difference between contracting a disease and not contracting a disease when you put it all together. Just think about what I've said. The messaging that goes to the brain when you eat slowly and calmly and consciously and with awareness tells you that you're full, and also allows all the vitamins, minerals and micronutrients in the food to absorb into the cells. That doesn't happen when you're eating under stress, or you're eating like a pig, which is what most people do these days. So consider that, please. The most important and final reason why I'm sailing through these fasts, which I've never done before. I fasted before, but I've always felt pangs of hunger and withdrawal symptoms. But I can tell you the reason it is, and I know this without any doubt, because I know myself. This is what I'm explaining to you to get to know yourself, is that I'm approaching these fasts from a completely different perspective. I have taken the time and the responsibility to study why God has prescribed fasting from the Quran. And once I have read it and I've done my due diligence and research by listening to other experts in the field of the Quran who I respect, people like Sam Gerrans, there's someone called Saeed Mirza as well, but especially Sam Gerrans, because I've studied his work, I've studied who he is, how he thinks, and I coincide with pretty much, not everything, but pretty much everything. So when I've studied all of that, and most importantly, read the Quran myself and the translation and the notes that go with it, I realised the reason I'm fasting is not just for how good it is for my health, but it's actually bringing me closer to Source and to my Maker, to God. I'm not going to argue with that. I know that. That is the absolute truth, which is why fasting is prescribed for us for a days numbered every month. Now, when I try and think about how that has happened, because all I can say to you is I don't even think about food. I realise how near to God I am. I realise that there is huge benefit in not having the body concentrating on digesting food the whole time. There's huge benefit to that, and also not thinking about eating. We're living in an environment today where we live to eat. We don't eat to live anymore. So I would argue that's Satan's influence, the former one. So when you're not thinking about food, my time is spent in engaging in either reading books, reading scripture, sitting in silence, contemplating, pondering, being very self-aware, meditating, not this form of nonsense, but actually sitting down quietly and meditating on ideas and meditating on verses I've read in the Quran, spending time with my parents, avoiding any noisy activity. Maybe I'll listen to some quiet music. Sometimes I listen to some Sufi music or some older style classical music. And the concept of eating, I'm not even hungry at 6 o'clock when we break fast. I don't even want to eat. And yesterday I could not believe it, because I almost broke into tears, because I thought, why am I not hungry? And I realised that I've embraced the word of God from my heart. Not because it's been prescribed and you will do this. I understand why. And that's the magic. I will put some notes down below afterwards, later on in the day, in the evening. But I just want you to, I'd like you to really embrace what I'm saying and understand the reasons why. And it is a closeness to God. There is no doubt about that. So have a lovely Wednesday.